So our whole theme this month in celebration of Christmas has been light. And I've shared it with you as an acronym. I know many of you, most of you, if you've been with us, remember it. The acronym being Living in God's Highest Truth. What a great way to look at light, don't you think? And this morning I want to talk about the inside light of Christmas. I want to go into some of the mysticism around our much loved symbols of the Christmas story. And so Christmas and the symbols of Christmas, the beautiful symbols of Christmas, what do they mean? What do the shepherds mean? What do the wise men mean? What does the fact that there was no room in the inn and that Jesus was born in a manger in a stable, what does that mean to us here in San Diego in 2016? Does it have any relevance to us? I think it does. And I think it does when we understand that these are archetypical images that point to a deeper truth. You see, in unity, we have always looked at Jesus as our teacher and our way shower. We have always looked at him as somebody who pointed the way to a different way of living and being in the world, to such an extent that by being in the world and living in the world differently as he taught, not only would our lives be better for ourselves, but we would help to create a more beautiful and loving and peace-filled world for all. And so when we approach then Christmas, how do we approach it as mystics? How do we approach it as metaphysicians? I think we do by looking at the various symbols and asking deeper questions of ourselves. What might this point the way to in me? And so I want us to look at a few of those symbols this morning, some of our much-loved symbols, and to peel back the map that they reveal for us. Now, the first has to do with where Jesus was born. And we know that he was born, or we are told that he was born in a stable, in a manger, because there was, you can say that with a little more joy, because I know you know that part of the story, because there was no room in the inn, right? It was too crowded. Well, why was it too crowded? It was too crowded because there was a census being taken, and Mary and Joseph had gone to Bethlehem to be counted because they were of the lineage of David, and they needed to be there to be counted, and they got there, and there was no room for them in the inn, so all that was left for them was a manger, was a stable. Well, what does that mean to us mystically and metaphysically? It refers to the idea of consciousness. We can look at the inn and the manger, for that matter, as a state of awareness, a state of consciousness. And we must ask ourselves, are we more like the inn or are we more like the manger? For you see, it was the manger that was the place that Jesus was born, right? It was this simple place where this teacher and way shower, who still influences countless people today, was born. Not in the inn, because the inn was too crowded. Well, what is it inside of us that wants to be born but cannot be born if in consciousness it's too crowded? For example, could we not agree that part of living in God's highest truth would be that we long to embody deeper and greater unconditional love in our lives? Would that not be something that we would want to embody? Absolutely. And so what is it that might go on in consciousness that would make it difficult or would crowd out our capacity to love more fully? Certainly worrisome thoughts do, right? Stress can crowd out the experience of peace. How about forgiveness and compassion? Are these aspects of living in God's highest truth that we want to give birth to in our lives? And not just give birth to as a baby and then walk away, but actually give birth to and see grow in us to maturity. Well, if we are holding resentment and bitterness within us, we're going to crowd out any potential capacity to be more loving, to be more compassionate. And so the point being that whatever kinds of God qualities we want to birth in our lives, they are going to be birthed more out of a place of simplicity and openness than in a consciousness that is bombarded with too much other stuff.